Right.
Hi, this is JP Morgan.
And this is Kenneth Merrill.
And we've got with us Anaya Harmony.
Hi.
Anaya is going to help us take a look at the A7 III.
And the Sigma FP.
So we have reviewed the A7 III a million times, maybe not a million times.
Almost a million.
At least
Almost, like
900.
999,999.
There you go, at
Nailed
least
it.
that many times.
Yes.
But you know what, it still holds up. It's a great camera, it's a great entry-level camera, kind of advanced entry-level camera. You know, when you say entry-level camera, it's a pretty substantial camera. But what we're looking at today is how does this compare with the Sigma FP, which also has still capabilities. Well, our lenses today we got from Sammy's Camera, so thanks to Sammy's Camera, which got us, and also Sigma, which
Sammy.
got us, yeah, there you go, Sammy. I love you. And also our art lens, Sigma was nice enough to get that art lens for us, so we can look at that 50mm art lens on their Sigma camera. So we're pretty excited about that.
And then we get to thank B&H Photo and Video for our camera bodies.
They did send us the camera bodies, so we got everybody involved today. We love everybody, coast to coast. So let's get started and let's take a look at these two cameras. Let's look at a good picture quality test, still photography test. Let's get started and see what we got.
So right now we're doing our picture quality test. Now, usually for this setup, we just do a nice portrait. We like to rim light with the sun, add a little bounce on the
Look at this
face,
really fast.
meter according to the incident meter, you know, how much light is hitting the subject, and just take a nice portrait and see how it looks, see what the resolution's like, the color, the tonality. This is really kind of the most real world, how's this camera gonna perform, how's it gonna look shooting a person kind of test that we do.
First off, for me, I have the same love-hate with Sony that I always have, and that is that it's a little bit neutralish for me. I don't know if that's the right word.
Feels
but
kind of yellow for me.
yellow in the foreground, but not in the background.
Right, the color's kind of flattened.
Yeah, but now the Sigma looks very red to me.
It's a little red. It's also cooler. The image seems cooler. Though I will say the background seems remarkably similar on both. More so than any other system we've tested.
Yeah, they're both very pretty images. If you look at how, when you blow this up, I mean, these lenses and the way they resolve, I mean, are just...
They're both so good.
So incredibly sharp.
That's
I
cool.
mean, the Sigma, that lens is just very sharp, very pretty. It's not quite as, I don't know, I just look at the skin tone and everything is just not quite as, I don't know what the word is. It's a little softer, even though it's sharp.
It's sharp, but there's like the edges off a little bit.
Yeah, it's very sharp, but it doesn't feel over contrast or over sharpened. So there you have it, the picture quality test. Take a look at those two images. They look fabulous side by side.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, moving on. Time for the dynamic range test. See if these two cameras can handle this extreme dynamic range. White wall on the left, white clouds in the background. Let's see how these cameras handle it.
The great thing about this scene is that you have some darker areas, you know, the grading and the shadows on the doors and stuff, and even her shirt there, of course, the black checkers on the color checker. But you also have the sky and some strong highlights in the background, and immediately here we can see that the Sigma does not hold the sky as well.
No, not at all. I mean, I processed these and I was trying to hold that sky and there wasn't anything I could do to hold it. So the Sigma, I would say, is a stop. You would want to expose this a stop under.
A stop under.
A stop
just
under.
To hold that kind of
just
stuff.
to hold anything in the background because it is really not holding at normal exposure. At -1 now, the Sigma is holding that background.
Right.
Of course,
looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks great. The Sony is holding it as well at this point, even though it's a stop. It's looking just as good.
It would, yeah.
Well, there's at -2.
Man, her
Boy,
cheeks
her
sure
cheeks
turn
just
red
went
on that
red.
Sigma.
Very red.
In terms of noise,
we
it
look-
looks very clean.
It does, and so the Sony's
Sony's a little gritty at this
gritty
point,
or
yeah.
something about it. That's at -2. Look at the wall in the background here, because it is more red. The Sony is definitely more yellow. So let's go to -3.
Yeah.
The Sigma is holding fine in the background. So if we go to -4, I mean, at this point, we're really pushing things at -4. But they're both holding the highlights, we're holding the shadows, we're holding the sky in the background.
The Sony's looking pretty gritty though.
Boy,
I mean,
it sure is. Look at that.
and even the Sigma now, you're definitely feeling some grain in her face and stuff.
Yeah. But you know what? Neither of these cameras likes a +1. Well, the Sigma already wasn't holding that sky
Right.
at normal, so at
Right.
+1 it doesn't have a chance. Now the Sony is looking like the Sigma did at normal
At
exposure.
normal, yeah.
So we go to +2, and the wall's gone on the Sony, on the Sigma, and the Sony is starting to posterize on that
And
left-hand wall.
look at her face on the Sigma here at +2 stops. You have that ruddiness that we've had all along. Then you're also getting this yellow sort of desaturation on her cheeks and stuff, where the brightest parts of her face are starting to turn yellow and desaturated.
Yeah.
So her face is about to clip in terms of color information.
Yeah. Well, look at +3. That's always scary.
+3.
This +3 is all the highlights on people's faces, starts to just no detail. Although the Sony, the Sony is, even though the yellow has gotten pretty pronounced and the
Yeah.
wall is just gone,
Her face is not clipped,
not
just looks
terrible.
yellow.
So we got +4 in here, which I'm not so sure why we do +4. It's like
That's true.
She's in the snow at this point. There's no detail in her face. There's no detail on the side of the. I mean, there's just nothing here. Go. Let's take a look at the ISO. So we started at 400 ISO. These images, and boy, you see it here. The Sigma is red. The Sony is yellow.
But the tonality is almost identical.
So there's 400. 400 looks really good. 800, still very clean. 1600, you're definitely starting to see it in the background.
You do. I am starting to see it in her face too. If you look at the shadowy areas on her skin, there's a little bit of
If you look at that,
grain
the
in
noise
there.
on the side of her nose there.
Kind of in both.
Yeah.
Honestly.
You get this kind of weird shadow transition
Yeah.
with the Sony, and it's just I'm not sure how it's like loss of detail in that transition, whereas this feels a little more comfortable.
Where it
on the
almost
Sigma.
like flattens out in
Yeah.
the lower midtones.
Yep.
That's interesting.
3200.
There's more grain in the Sony on this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
So if we go to 6400 here, and you're obviously seeing quite a bit of gray in her face on the Sigma, but the Sony is really starting to. You see
It's a little
some
more
red starting
pronounced,
to
yeah.
happen, and
Also you're getting that green shift we usually see with the Sony.
Yep.
Sigma seems to hold on to I mean, look at the checkerboard on the Sigma. It's really bright, even though it's a 6400.
it really is actually. Look at the yellows and
Yeah.
the red looks magenta.
Very magenta, yeah.
And on the Sony, the red looks a little more reddish, but boy, the color is much more vibrant. So let's look 12,800 here.
I mean, they're both
They're
pretty
both
bad
gone.
at this
Yeah,
point.
they're both.
But there
both
is a
went to
certain,
bed.
I mean, look at the way her eyes are still popping a little bit more in the Sigma.
Mm-hmm.
It's holding on to that tonality a little better.
Well, this next one's bound to look a lot better. 25,600. Boy, look at this. If you look at those two, the Sigma is so red and the Sony is so yellow.
It's almost like a sepia.
Yeah, it looks like a sepia for sure, the Sony does.
I would say that there's a slight edge to the Sigma. I think it held it. I think it was a little more consistent. The colors popped for a little longer and it wasn't as coarse as quickly. Now we're going to do the autofocus test. Sony's always done pretty well. They have their eye detect autofocus, which has really been kind of a game changer. A lot of other companies have started incorporating eye detect as well. Sigma has the eye detect, and I'm very curious to see how it
Yeah, let's do it
performs
one more
because
time, yeah.
good autofocus really is kind of what separates the great still cameras from the just mediocre ones. So let's check it out.
Well, when you go through these, if you look at on her face, we'll get sharp, and then second 2, there's 2 sharp, there's 3 sharp, there's 4 sharp, and then we're out. 5, and then 6 is out, and then 7 is out, and then 8 is out, and then 9 comes back in.
So you're talking about half the photos are out of focus.
Half the focus are out, half of them are out of focus, and it's the same. It is the same interesting problem every time we test a camera. The ones at a distance are fine, and then that mid-range they struggle a little bit. Then they finally catch up when they slow down at the camera. Whereas if we look at the Sony, and we know the Sony, we've
done
shot
this
this
like
test
6
so
times.
many times. I mean, there's 2, 3, 4, 5.
I mean, in my
6,
experience, the Sony misses 1 out of every 8, maybe. 1 out of every 6
9,
shots.
10, 11. There was one back there that was a little softish. 12, 13, 14. It's going through that transition now. 15, 16, 17. Okay, there was one that was a little out right there. So we're missing 2 or 3 images. It's making that transition from distance to forward. See there, when we get closer, lose that one. Fix it up again. Fix it up again. We lose another one as it gets really close. There's another one. When it settles in now, once it's settled in, it's sharp. So it's really, as a still camera, you can't beat what the A7 III does. It really, as far as the autofocus
at least not
goes.
if you're Sigma.
Yeah, Sigma can't quite beat it, unfortunately. All right, so there's the autofocus test, and I have to say that I think the Sony kind of kicked butt there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think we need to talk about the ergonomics of these two cameras, because my first thing is I can't stand a camera that I can't get my fingers around and feel like I have a good grip of it. Hold of it. This thing is a box, and I feel scared to pick it up, like it's gonna slide right out of my hand.
It's interesting to me that they're building a modular camera like this. Kind of reminds me of Red. There's something to that. It's really cool. You can accessorize it in a lot of different ways. But at the same time, it feels odd not to be able to hold the camera out of the gate. At least for stills. Maybe for video, if you're going to rig it out, it's a different story. But if you're going to use it for stills, then I think you definitely need to put a grip on there. And one last thing is the battery life. They really, I mean, I'm assuming, I think they do have some sort of battery grip that is out now, or it's going to be released. That has to be the case, because as it is now, it may be unusable just for the batteries, unless you're carrying around 10 batteries, like, you know.
We're back to the Sony A7 RIII days. Where, you know, I remember one of the YouTubers saying, "Well, just carry 10 batteries." I'm going, no, that's not the point. You know.
Yeah.
You can get a charger. You can get an EVF. You can get a grip on the side. You can 50, 300, 450. For another $1,000, you can make this thing work. You know, it'll be absolutely perfect. You know,
and
but this comes ready to go out of the box.
$2,000, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I love Sigma lenses. For the last couple of years, I've just really liked Sigma lenses. I have a lot of respect for them. I do think it's still pretty incredible what they've done, especially considering the video stuff that we're going to talk about next month.
Yeah. Okay, well, there you have it. So check us out. Make sure you subscribe to us here on the Slanted Lens. We want you to be a part of our community. So hit that subscribe button, and make sure you follow us on Instagram and all the other platforms. We're even on the Hula Haba Habaduba.
TikTok?
TikTok. There you go.
He's really in the know.
Okay, one more time. We've even got a great following over on TikTok. I don't know if you call 500 people a great following, but we've only posted 3 times, so there you go. By the time you get over there, it'll be a couple of thousand, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So anyway, make sure you become a part of our community, join our community group, and have a great year. We're winding up to the end of the year here. Hope photography has become a stronger part of your life, and you've learned great things this last year, and it'll help you to do better in the next year as a hobby, as a way to make money, all those things. And looking forward to a great 2020. So keep those cameras rolling.
And keep on clicking.